Hello everybody, I hope you all are doing well. And I'm making this video because again my heart goes out to my fellow brothers and sisters in Christ who are suffering right now. And I want to encourage you guys by sharing some valuable truths that I think is very helpful to hear while you are suffering, while you are enduring and persevering through your trials. It's really easy to have a pity party during these times because it's so painful and everything looks hopeless at times. And you even desire for others to have pity on you, to feel sorry for you. But all that does is lead you to more despair. And why? It's because those are all lies. Those are so far from the truth. If you are a child of God, there's always reasons to hope, especially in times of hardships. During these times of hardships, these trials and tribulations, you are growing. Your faith is growing. Good is coming from it. And I want to show you this truth because some people's minds are so set on feeling despair because of these trials, but the truth is that good is coming from all of this, and your mind should be set on the truth. You should see reality, not feelings. Because a lot of times feelings are not aligned with the truth. It can be, and that's a good place to be, but a lot of times during trials, your feelings are aligned with lies. Because the devil is feeding you lies a lot of times while you're down. He kicks us while we're down. And so I want to encourage you with the truth. James chapter 1 verse 2 through 4 says, "Consider it all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." Here he says, consider it all joy when you encounter various trials. Here, trials, that means it's like a test. And what does it lead to? Endurance. Endurance is surviving the pain. It's like patience. And so here it says, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And also I want you to realize he said various trials. So there are many trials in our lives for our good. It's not just one trial and then you're set, because you need to keep growing. And it says here, by the testing of your faith, it produces endurance. And what does endurance do for you? One of the things is that it grows your faith. Your faith grows as a consequence of it being tested. Pastor Alistair Begg, who I love, and I encourage you guys to listen to him as well when you get a chance. He gives a good example of how testing your faith is like testing your muscles, like your biceps. And he says that when you work out your biceps, you're testing it, you're putting strain on it. And when you do that, your muscles grow. In the same way, when you test your faith and through endurance, your faith grows. And if you never get tested, your muscle will atrophy. And so he's a good father, and he knows what's best for us, and he allows us or even gives us these trials himself. And so through these trials, endurance is produced. Through these tests, patience is produced, or you could say it that way, and your faith grows as a result. That is what is happening. I don't know if there's a better way for your faith to grow than through trials. Romans chapter 5 verse 3 and 4 says, not only this, but we also exult in our tribulations, knowing that tribulation brings about perseverance, and perseverance, proven character, and proven character, hope. I want you to notice it is similar to what we just read in James, but they're not exactly the same. Here he says we should exult. Exult means also rejoice. We should rejoice in our tribulations. Tribulations and trials are not exactly the same. Trials, like I said, is a test, but tribulations is more of a hardship. They can be together in a situation. But here, Apostle Paul is saying, rejoice in your hardships, because knowing that hardships bring about perseverance. And so here, it's different than James. James says the trials brings about endurance, but Apostle Paul in Romans says tribulations brings about perseverance. And through what you're going through, you can get both. You can get both endurance and perseverance. And so, like I said, endurance is like surviving the pain, but perseverance is surviving the pain and you're actually going against the pain and the hardship to achieve something. And what are you achieving something as you go against the pain? It is the character. It's proving character. And whose character is that? It's Jesus' character. And through that character, hope is produced. And so, both here, James and Apostle Paul is saying, rejoice. The trial, the tribulation that you're going through will strengthen your faith, will produce the character of Jesus within you, which leads to hope. And by the way, what does hope do for a man that's shackled by despair? It breaks it apart. There cannot be despair when there is hope. And so, having a pity party makes no sense for the believer when he or she is going through a trial or tribulation, any hardship or pain. See it for what it is. It is a blessing, and we can rejoice through that pain. We can rejoice through that circumstance that looks so hopeless, because God says, I will bless you through it. This is nothing for the Lord. This is impossible for many of us, but it is so easy for the Lord. He can do all things. Nothing is too hard for him. And so in Isaiah 48:10, I'm going to support what I just said here. Behold, I have refined you, but not as silver. I have tested you in the furnace of affliction. Through the testing of affliction, he's refined you. He's grown your faith. He's made you more like his son Jesus. Psalm 66:10-12 says, For you have tried us, O God. You have refined us as silver is refined. You brought us into the net. You laid an oppressive burden upon our loins. You made men ride over our heads. We went through fire and through water. Yet you brought us out into a place of abundance. How does that work? It says, God, you have refined us as silver is refined. That's very hot, uncomfortable temperatures. Taking the dross out of us. He brought us into a net, and he laid an oppressive burden upon our loin, and men rode over our heads, and he made us go through fire and water, and yet we end up in a place of abundance. How does this make sense? Through the hardships and trials, he makes our character like his son. He produces hope through that, and he strengthens our faith so that we may have endurance as well. That is how we go from trial, hardship, tribulation to a place of abundance. And we will have faith like we did not before, where we could place our life in God's hands and be able to find rest in Jesus alone, where we will have an abundance of all the things that are true blessings in this world, not just all the material things, but the things that matter, us being like Jesus. One of the chief reasons for why God created us, for us being filled with hope. How many people would love to have hope, true hope in their lives? No matter how much money they have, they can't buy that. But through God's blessed trials and tribulations, we can have pure hope in Jesus. And I want to share Matthew chapter 13, verse 20 and 21. I'm sure many of you heard this. This is the parable of the sower from Jesus. The one on whom seed was sown on the rocky places, this is the man who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Yet he has no firm root in himself, but is only temporary. And when affliction or persecution arises because of the word, immediately he falls away. You are not that man or woman if you are a child of God. If you are a child of God, you have root. And through this trial and tribulation, God will show you that the root is there. This is a blessed situation in your life where God is testing you Testing your faith so that it may grow, and for him to testify that there is root in you, that Jesus has a hold of you, that you are his child. As you go through these hardships, that you persevere, that you don't just let it sweep you over, but you go against it, trusting in God, and you accept what the Lord is doing in your life. And you say, God, I surrender it all to you. I trust in you alone. I don't know how to figure it out, but I know you do, and that you will figure it out and overcome for me. As you do this, hope will arise in you, and you will have rest in Jesus. And he will prove to you that you are his child by that root sustaining you through that storm. No matter how hard it blows on that tree, because of the root that Jesus has planted and grown within you, you hold steady through that storm. And he says, you are my child. Can't you see it? You have overcome through my strength. You have persevered by my grace, and I have shown you that you are my child, and you know it too. This is confirmation. This is more blessed assurance of God's grace upon your life. These trials and tribulations have nothing but good to come for us. They only produce good for us Christians. So the pity party is nonsense. When people feel sorry for you, you should say, I don't need it. It's okay. I'm blessed. I am blessed no matter how it looks. The Lord is my shepherd, and he is leading me through these times of affliction, and he is using it all for my good. I will persevere. I will endure by the grace of God. So trust in the Lord. Believe his word.